Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. I hope it's been a good day so far. Welcome to Chain Fusion Live, our chance to talk about all things multi-chain in the crypto space and ICP's role within it. Today, we've got an awesome guest. We got Scott from Bit Basel. Scott, I met you just a few weeks ago, got to hear kind of what your vision is for Bit Basel. And I was like, we got to get you on a Chain Fusion Live because I just love what you're thinking and the direction you're going. And there's a cool moon connection here we're going to get to in a second. But first, I know behind you is well, first of all, let me be a good host. Welcome to Chain Fusion Live, Scott.
Thank you. Excited to be here. Thanks, Kyle, for having me.
So I know we were talking a little bit before the show. You have a howdy sign behind you, and it's because you're in Austin, Texas, right?
That's correct. Let's see how good.
There you go.
Nice Texas art in our Airbnb. We just spent the week here for consensus with the team. Did some awesome things with ICP, but the whole industry was here. It was really exciting. A great time for the industry and lots of excitement coming out of it.
Yeah, as somebody who stayed home during consensus, and I'm regretting it, I have FOMO the entire time. So give me the highlights of the week. What were the top points?
I mean, my team's been here the whole week. To be honest, I got here Thursday night, but when I got here, it was kind of a slurry of events. Every protocol is here. Every bank that has something to do with blockchain is here. I would say we were in ETH Denver a few months ago, also with the ICP team, where that one's really focused on, protocols and developers. This also had protocols and developers there, but a lot more of industry, C-suite, executives. A lot of politicians came out. I think people that might be in enterprise and interested around blockchain were really out at this event. So it was awesome. I mean, the conference itself had some of the top speakers. The side events were glamorous. But I do know a lot of people, we're tired by the end of the week and headed home. We're staying here for another week. I have some other things to do in Texas. But consensus is, I would say, probably the top conference of the year for blockchain. Has been.
Yeah, it definitely. I mean, just what you're saying, just strikes me as like this the evolution or the maturity of our industry that we're now engaging with, like enterprise. We're engaged, like the scope of crypto is no longer like degens in their basement. It's we're definitely getting a lot more mainstream. I know you attended the ICP event. How was that? Was that a good time?
It was awesome. ICP has a huge presence in Austin. Actually, the team at the ICP Hub is Austin-based, Pedro and Monica. So they did an awesome time throwing a great event, welcoming us to some of the best Texas barbecue that I ever had. And yeah, it was an awesome event. It kind of kicked off consensus on Tuesday, bringing together a community, different projects, gave us a chance to kind of showcase what we're doing for a couple minutes, but really about meeting people from around the world, but also realizing, how much of a presence ICP has in Austin.
Yeah, Pedro, I met Pedro at ETH Denver, got to meet him, and great guy. So I'm glad you got to meet him as well. You mentioned the other activities. So you guys are hanging out in Texas. You mentioned before we hit record that you're actually going to go do something really, really cool. So I don't know, give you a little platform here to go over what your future plans are in Texas.
Yeah, I mean, this was kind of a team decision over the last 10 days, but we're staying an extra week in Texas. Shortly after this call, we're going to be taking a 6-hour drive south to the border of Texas to prepare for the launch of a SpaceX rocket. So their new line of rockets called the Starships. This will be the 4th ever launch of the Starship rocket, which is, supposed to be 1,000x larger in capacity and economics than the previous rocket, which we're using right now, or which SpaceX is using right now, called the Falcon 9. So the Starship is the next iteration of that, and that's the rocket that's supposed to take us to Mars. So right now they're testing it, and there's a lot of people coming in from around the country, around the world to watch it and see if this next test, what the advances are for this one.
So you're going to get to kind of watch it. Is it going to leave the atmosphere, or how high is it going to go?
I think this one, they're going to be getting it as high as they, can. I don't think last test it left the atmosphere. I have my live studio audience here. They might know better. Scarlett, did it leave the atmosphere? I'm not sure. But, really the goal ultimately, I'm not sure if they're expecting it on this test, is to have it leave the atmosphere and then have the rocket kind of disassemble and then land. What's great about these rockets is that they're reusable rockets. So, 5 years ago, you shoot a rocket up, can't use it again.
Right.
They shoot it up now, it comes back down. You use it for the next flight in a couple of months, which is the real miracle of what SpaceX has done.
I think watching, I think it was Falcon 9 that they landed, the first one to land on the ship, and just watching something like touchdown, like just how controlled that was one of the coolest things I've ever seen in my life. So really jealous you're going to get to see that. But it's really, this has all been like a good segue into the idea of like NFTs on the moon, which I'd never heard of, but because I've heard of NFTs going to the moon in the figurative sense. But you actually were educating me on the literal sense of NFTs and ordinals to the moon. Kind of give some background on what's going on there.
Well, now as of February 22nd, we can now say, NFTs are on the moon or Bitcoin's on the moon. But more importantly, there's art now on the moon. February 22nd marked the landing of the first ever public-private partnership between the U.S. government, NASA, and the private sector. So there was different spacecrafts, launched up to the moon, and then also payloads on this spacecraft. So through this public-private partnership, a firm called Galactic Legacy Labs and Space Blue, they put up the first ever art museum on the moon. And a lot of it are digital artworks using advanced technology to really create a disc, which is a museum. Etched onto that disc are, hundreds of thousands of different art pieces that are now sitting on this lander, which landed on the moon on February 22nd, 2024.
That's awesome. Is it so? I mean, so an art museum on the moon, obviously not a physical building structure, but more just it's a piece of. So wait, what material?
I can explain it. So it's you can think of it as like a Grammy disc, just like that. And there's multiple layers on it. And this disc is made out of nickel because nickel doesn't oxidize or get destroyed in the orbit. And then utilizing a technology called nanofish, they pretty much print. You can print in images and files onto these discs, which you can see with the naked eye. And if you were to take a microscope, you could see all these images on there. So some of those images, are NFTs. Some of those images are ordinals, but a lot of them are also just images on there that we can create into digital assets in the future as well. So that's what's on there. It's a museum. It's a memorial on this disc. There's thousands of art pieces that were curated to go onto them. You can see them with the naked eye, but if you're an alien visiting the moon, you might want a microscope to get a full view of the art pieces. And that is, technically this first museum on the moon.
That is so crazy and amazing. It really kind of just strikes me of like, in the past, it's been about getting science out off of Earth and to the moon, right? You land, you do some scientific experiments, you do them on Mars and everything like that. This is like an example of us like exporting our culture.
This is
so what do we got here?
This is the disc, at the top here, and maybe it's not the best, but then there's 16 layers of it, and that's right now bolted to the side of the lunar lander, put up by SpaceX, and sitting there. So inside this disc, with the circles, and inside there's thousands of different art pieces inscribed onto them.
That is so cool. And I think it's an example of like the ingenuity of humankind, right? Like we're exporting our culture. This is things that are important to us as a species. And so now that's living forever on the moon.
It's really a time capsule. It's living forever unless some alien species comes and grabs it and takes it to their faraway land. Using nickel, it can last, hundreds of thousands, if not billions of years. But it's really, and what I've learned through this process is like wherever humans have gone to space, art has came with it. From the 60s to the 70s, 80s, 90s, and now not culminating, but just also the next stage is, this museum on the moon. But really, we're finding where human goes, science and art kind of come with it.
Yeah. I mean, it's a very human. I mean, you can easily, and art does this, right? It really takes humans, like, it really highlights like things that humans consider important. Like for whatever reason, like within our DNA, like we consider art and as like an expression of who we are to be important. And we feel that need to kind of expand it beyond just our own borders. And so obviously the moon is that next step. Any plans to take it to Mars or?
None yet. I mean, we'll hear from Elon this week. If the Starship goes well, then maybe it will be less than 10 years until he can take that to Mars. And if he is, we'll hope to get some payload onto that. But I think we have a long way to Mars, and actually NASA's stated goal is that they're going to be utilizing the moon as the base where we're going to shoot off into Mars. So NASA's program is called Artemis. It's the new kind of journey back to the moon for the US. In 2 years, the first woman and person of color will be going back to the moon for the first time in 50 years since Neil Armstrong. And they'll be setting up some bases there with the stated goal, that this is going to be the launch pad for humanity to explore deep space. Has to do with gravity and gravity wells and things, but apparently it's a lot easier to launch from the moon than it is from Texas or Cape Canaveral.
I'll take their word for it.
Yeah, we'll take their word for it too.
So it's what I find very intriguing though is we have now this art on the moon, and then there's also the digital representation back here on Earth. So kind of walk through like the idea of these being not just art pieces but NFTs and ordinals.
Yeah, 100%. So I mean, right now the original disc is right now sitting on the moon, and right now no one can really see it. Not even, with satellites, you can't go that, kind of zoom in that much. There are replicas here that are going to be showcased in certain museums as well. But, what we're excited to be doing is really showcasing the blockchain verification of those assets. So working with the different contractors and vendors, part of this mission, how can we not just take the image, but how can we take all these proof of authenticities on the ways that where it went from, us, our artists, to the content providers, to the mission, to the moon, through this technology, which I talked about with Nickel Disc, and then create digital artworks with that a collector that's interested in this space can collect, whether it's a one-of-one piece of these art pieces, and there's some very special ones like the Mona Lisa and some large celebrities, to some of these emerging Web3 artists that are on this mission with us too, that want to bring it out to their collectors of, thousands of collectors as a one of many. So we're thinking through that process of how to bring that authentication on-chain Bitcoin, but also leveraging the internet computers and its storage capacity, and allowing them to be sold, and into the Web3 space, so people can own a piece of this space history.
So, I mean, obviously, like you said, like in terms of deciding what art goes to the moon, like there definitely feels like, yeah, the Mona Lisa is a no-brainer. We've already kind of identified that on Earth as being like, hey, this is an important piece of art. But then you said like there's like Web3 artists who have been included. Like, how did they, like, was there like, what was the process like for them to be included in this?
Yeah, so it was curated by a organization called Space Blue. And on the disc, there's a lot of archives of science and technology that they have been trying to get into orbit for many years, and those are on there. But specifically on this disc, there's also 222 curated artists from Space Blue, which encompasses something called the Luna Prize Museum. And Space Blue comes from the Web3 industry. Have been leading kind of, NFT auctions and NFT kind of rights for different brands since 2017. So throughout a process, they curated Bit Basel and our artists. We had 22 artists that we were showcasing through an impact initiative with climate change, oceans, women equality, that were chosen to go onto the moon. So those are 22 of the 222 artists specifically that are, made up of a lot of emerging artists as well from the Web3 industry, from outside of it, that were part of this 222 collective of official artists that were sent to this mission. So awesome. Yeah, it's been, I think, maybe a 2-year process of curation.
Okay.
by Space Blue of 222 artists. And what's funny is that, no one knew when this lander was going to land. Actually, when it was launching, it was scrubbed for a day, but it landed on the day, February 22nd, 222, with these 222 artists, and it just couldn't be made a better than fiction sometimes. So it's a very special project. It's amazing that we can send artists, emerging artists, as part of this, explorative pioneering mission with NASA, and let them tell their story.
Yeah, that's so, I mean, it's just so cool. And just another like, I don't want to say distribution channel because that sounds too businessy, but just another way to like interact with art, both between the Web3 and, like maybe what you might call like old tech, which is going to the moon. I have a few more questions, but it just if you're watching this live, if you have any questions for Scott, we're talking about some really cool things here. So if you have any questions for Scott, put them in the chat. We'll just go through and just kind of call out. Hey, Chaos says hello. You also have Romulus saying hello all. You've got Damien, who's part of the 8-year gang, calling out that. And then I also just wanted to come way back to the very beginning. Where did it go? Real quickly. Yes, there we go. Peter obviously calling out the 3rd generation blockchain. So let's then dive in, because you said these are ordinals that or they're it's art on the moon that also have a digital representation on the blockchain. And I know you just launched a collection on Bionic, almost like a stealth. It was like a stealth launch. So walk us through kind of what's going on Bionic right now.
Yeah. So, there's a lot of pieces on this museum. Some of them have already been NFTs on Ethereum. Some of them have been Bitcoin ordinals inscribed under 1 million, I believe. But most of them are really just in their raw files on the moon. So, we're excited to be able to take these on chain. So this is the first example of that with our Moon Rider collection, with our partners at Bionic. We created, which, I don't know what's cooler, the fact that it's on the moon or the fact that we can do a no gas fee and instant mint of an ordinals collection on the ICP, which is as cutting edge as it gets in the Bitcoin ecosystem. And more people need to know about this. But we were able to take that asset, our Moon Rider Bit Basel piece, which is the one of, many pieces on the moon, and really test out with our partners Bionic to see like how people are going to be reacting to this, to understand how this reserved ordinal model, on ICP is working for our users as well, leveraging and onboarding them to CKBTC to enable this instant and free transaction. So we really want to give it a test with our partners at Bionic before we launch our own marketplace in the next month. And so, yeah, it's a little bit of a low stakes mint. It's really with our core partners of the mission to really just test this out, because I think we all agree on the mission that bringing this fine, historic art pieces to Bitcoin is kind of like the final goal of really connecting this off-earth asset to, the truest decentralized blockchain. So we're excited just to, showcase the first of many pieces that are coming to Dfinity.
Yeah, I minted. I think my maxes out at 10. That one person can mint. I maxed it out. So really excited to see how that takes shape. There is definitely something there. I always call Bitcoin the forever database, as in you can almost think of the Bitcoin ledger as a database, and it's probably going to be the database that outlives every single other database that's in existence today, just because of the decentralized nature and the incentive structure. So there's something so cool about art that's going to live on the moon forever, like you're saying, being engraved in nickel, but then also having it live forever on Bitcoin down here on Earth. There's something like that what is it called? Like awe-inspiring, of just like, wow, this is going to live forever, is something, I don't know. It's just, there's something really cool there.
And I think, like you said, I mean, whether it's off Earth, but just utilizing these materials like nickel, like the nanoish, that are supposed to last into posterity after everything. I think that's the same thing with Bitcoin. And sometimes our digital data is just as important as our physical data. So like, what is that equivalent in the digital realm? It really is the Bitcoin blockchain, where, we can, feel like it's as good as gold, or as when we put assets and when we transfer money onto that blockchain. So yes, I think there's a lot of equivalence there.
Yeah, Yeah, very, very cool. So so now give what's the call to action for the Moonrider
Go to
collection?
Bionic. Go to Bionic. It's still minting on the Launchpad. Minted. It's a beautiful piece of artwork done by Kelly Max and Sammy Halpern from the Modernist team. We teamed up on this art piece, taking their iconic Modernist face and creating a Bit Basel inspirational piece of it. This actually was created during our big Bit Basel event in 2023. And it was there on that day that we were all kind of invited to be part of this moon mission. So it does have some kind of historical importance to us as kind of like the first piece that's kind of representing Bit Basel's journey to the moon.
I love it. And I love the support for CKBTC on it, and giving more utility to CKBTC. So yeah, so get out, mint some Moonriders, be part of history, be part of the Bit Basel journey. Now you mentioned Bit Basel, which is great because I love that this conversation has just been not about Bit Basel so much as like this very cool narrative of what's going on in the art scene and how it's intersecting with space and art and Web3. But let's turn the attention to Bit Basel. So give me some. Let's start with just like what's the background of Bit Basel. Give kind of like the origin story. Like how did you guys get to where you're at today?
Oh, it's a funny, interesting origin story. So, we've been doing a lot of Web3, blockchain, even Bitcoin education, before it was called Web3 in Miami since 2017. We had a company that we started called the Bitcoin Center, and it was really an educational hub for those interested back then to come and hang out, learn about crypto, learn about decentralization, blockchain, Bitcoin. There was no NFTs until 2020, right? Is kind of when there was NFTs since 2016, but really in the mainstream consciousness, NFTs didn't really start popping up until 2020, the end of 2020, the 2021. So that was also during the midst of COVID. So our Bitcoin Center, our co-working space was completely shut down, but crypto was starting to trickle back up. So our community really wanted to, kind of come back together. They were missing each other. On December 5th, there's usually every year an activation called Art Basel in Miami. It's the largest art and cultural event of the year globally. In 2020, there was no Art Basel. It was COVID, but we did end up throwing a little event at the Bitcoin Center called Bit Basel. And it was like Bitcoin Basel, and we wanted to showcase this new thing called crypto art and NFTs to not just our community, but globally. So we used StreamYard, excuse me, if you guys don't know what StreamYard is, but we had a live stream of dozens of CEOs from every top marketplace, you name it, OpenSea, Dapper Labs, to come and talk about crypto art to the world, while us in Miami, we were probably 100 people, kind of having a party in the middle of COVID. We were wearing masks, but that was the origins of Bit Basel. And then really maybe like a month later at most, and a few weeks later, there were the NBA came out with Top Shot and Beeple sold at Christie's. But not just that, like our city of Miami kind of went on a resurgence as like a Web3 crypto hub too, when our mayor started going on Twitter and saying, come down to Miami, we're open for crypto business. So what we learned from that experience and from that whole 2020 into 2021 is that what made this awesome decentralized technology go mainstream were the artists, were the arts, were brands, ways that people connected. It's like, oh, I get that now, or it's like, hey, the NBA is doing that, I want to get into that. So before that, we were just a bunch of kind of I don't want to say nerds, but talking about economics and computer science. And then really when the artists came in, I think, over the last 4 years, when now Bitcoin and blockchain has come into the public consciousness. So the lesson from that, we now empower artists, at the first and foremost to get into Web3, artists from all realms, whether they're artists, musicians, fashion designers, filmmakers. How can they leverage Web3 tools? How can they be part of our experiences? And how can we have them kind of lead this new world out in front with the artists first? And we've seen this repeat in other technologies now, with DALL-E kind of coming in first with AI, and with virtual reality, being able to, experience an art piece is kind of some people's first experience. So we see the interaction of like art and technology as core to how these things adopt.
Yeah, I'll be honest, like it's only really in the last like few months that it started to strike me just like how art and that connection with how like, you know, like if you almost look at like maybe it's easier just to understand from like the standard marketing, right? It used to be that like if you wanted to sell, you know, a product, you could just have a commercial on primetime TV back when we had like primetime TV, and then it would sell. Like just people would see your ad enough times, they'd go buy your product. And nowadays it's more about like connection, right? And that's almost like Web3 as a
Yeah.
general, like it
Yeah.
almost is like you can't sell a product to somebody unless you're part of that connection that that person has with the community around them. And art is just such like there's no better tool than art to have that. So I mean, I think your guys' timing is just perfect. Your geography is perfect at being in Miami. So really excited to see what you guys can form out of that.
It's definitely true. And you know, I would say myself, like I'm still learning to find out what my artistic medium is, whether it's painting, but we're all artists, you know, even creating as founders, you know, you're creating art is sometimes is your business as well. So empowering that and yeah, now just the tools that we have out there, you know, we'll go back to something like DALL-E, you know, we can go to anyone and then they can be an artist by just, you know, thinking through some different ways that they want to present ideas or ideals, and they can create art, you know, utilizing the computer. So the intersection of the computer and art has been something for many decades with generative art. But yeah, it's interesting to continue seeing that play out and
Yeah.
have more tech come into it.
Love it, love it. So now you mentioned Bit Basel, so you kind of caught us up to where you're at today. Where are you guys going? You'd mentioned the marketplace, but give us an idea of what Bit Basel's plans are.
Well, Bit Basel's, you know, always known to be throwing some of the best events at all these conferences. Our big kind of Super Bowl event is every December during Art Basel. This will be our 5th year, so we're already making plans for that. But in the short term, we're going to be doing some awesome activations. First in Miami, next June, this June. I can't believe it's already June. June 24th, 25th, we're going to be at the Bitcoin mining Disrupt conference, the largest mining conference in the country, and we're going to be bringing the ordinal ecosystem there, the creators there, to kind of show the miners, you know, what this new ordinal and runes technology that's been making them money is all about. And then after that, we're really excited to be going to the Bitcoin conference. It's very much focused on music this year, and there's some awesome audio projects as part of the Lunar Prize Museum. So the team there, we have some big things in the work, and hope to see the whole ICP community in Nashville as well. And that's really going to be colliding with this marketplace that we're dropping. And you know, marketplace is just a kind of a term for people to understand. We're buying and selling digital art, but we're also, you know, what's cool about the Bit Basel art that you'll buy on our platform is that it comes with unlockable perks and benefits with each art piece, whether it's a free mint, a $5 mint, a $50 mint, $1,000 mint. They're all going to come with these exclusive perks and different levels of kind of connection that we can, you know, start bringing more communities together around digital art, and then also, you know, making sure the collector has an amazing experience as well.
Awesome. Yeah, so it sounds like you guys are going to be busy June and July, 2 different major events. You said so. What was it? The Bitcoin? It was the Bitcoin miners.
Yeah, it's called Mining Disrupt. This is now their 6th year in Miami. So it's very B2B, but like us coming in, we've been doing the art gallery the last few years, but now with the ordinals kind of in the mind share, bringing that some fun and creativity to that event. We're excited. They're excited for that. And then the Bitcoin conference.
I know the miners are excited over ordinals, obviously, with helping them with a more sustainable business model. And then Bitcoin Nashville. So I know Definity will be out in force. So definitely recommend. I'll just piggyback on your claim of or your call to if you're in the ICP community and you can make it to Nashville, definitely do.
Yeah.
Where so you mentioned, actually, here goes Stan. I'm going to pull up a comment here. I think this is a good point of. So Stan asked, there are many options for NFT artists, but what would have been the priority with artists moving forward in this space? So yeah, what are like, so the artists, you know, the artists that you guys talk with, like what are the things they value in terms of either choosing an NFT, like a blockchain to go to, or a marketplace to sell through, or even an artistic style or a community that they want to engage in? Like from your conversation with artists, like what are the things that they prioritize?
Yeah, I mean, and sometimes we call it sometimes like the open sea, because it's an open sea platform. And sometimes even if an artist that's very well renowned, like mints on there, they're not promised to make any sales because they're kind of lost in that kind of huge swath of the NFTs on the blockchain. So I think what artists really look for is like, how do we, one, introduce ourselves into the Web3 ecosystem? If you're a traditional artist that's been successful, how do you kind of make your introduction to the Web3 ecosystem? How do you get involved with Discords and Telegrams and Twitter Spaces? So they need the marketing in one sense. And then two is also the customer and collector loyalty, which comes back to these utilities, these benefits. A lot of the crypto art in our market has been pushed out over the last couple of years because or in favor of maybe more of the PFP projects, because the PFP projects inherently bring communities together. Inherently, they give these different accesses to whether they're online forums or chats or events. So I think what we want to do for the artists is not just help them get a curated marketing and introduction into the Web3 space, but know that once their collector collects their pieces, that the collector themselves will be getting these streams of benefits from them as the artist. They can easily plug in their perks, but also some perks from the Bit Basel community. I think ultimately what artists want, they want to do art, right? They want to focus full time on creating these amazing expressions that take everything, to create. So the more that we can do on the marketing and collector relations for them, I think it's always a win-win relationship.
I'll pull up. You got the endorsement from Candice Marquette, who I don't know if you're familiar with Candice.
Yes.
There you go. She. So I'll give all the viewers the background. Candice is an excellent artist. She actually did a mural at Definity headquarters in our main lobby area. It's very beautiful. If you're ever in Zurich, definitely check it out. Now we're so Bit Basel, the marketplace. So we talked about you obviously have your Miami connections and the disrupting the miners disruption conference, the Bitcoin Nashville, and then now when do you plan to launch the marketplace?
June 24th, which is the first day of mining disrupt. So, we're gonna be showcasing the Moonrider, the mint that we have on Bionic. We're gonna be pulling that over to Bit Basel. We have a core relationship and partnership with Bionic. So we're going to start showcasing and being allowed for our community to mint the Moonrider on bitbasel.com June 24th. So that's the first day of mining disrupt. And then from there, we're going to be, just out of the pit gates and on to the next event. We're going to be onboarding a bunch of other projects from the Lunar Prize mission and other projects from around the community in Miami and our Web3 community. So we're excited to kind of bring those all to light in anticipation for our December event.
Awesome. So exciting. So the marketplace, is there what's going to differentiate the marketplace, Bit Basel's marketplace relative to, any other ordinal marketplace like a Magic Eden, or even to, I love that you're using the Bionic tech stack as the some of the back end to kind of carry some of the back end. So what's differentiated from the Bionic front end then?
Well, with the Bionic front end, and I'm glad that the community here knows about Bionic, because I think that kind of the tools and genius that they put into it is really a core advantage of, only Bionic and Bit Basel will have the functionality of being able to have free and instant ordinal mints that can be inscribed back and forth from Bitcoin to ICP. And also a Gmail sign-in with a ICP wallet and a Bitcoin wallet. That's huge for our community, that you can sign in with Gmail. You don't need to own crypto, and you can get a digital artwork right in your wallet. That's huge. I don't think there's any ordinal marketplaces that allow for that accessibility. And then even in NFT platforms, I don't think there's many out there that allow for that as well. From our, I think you can. Bionic, is working with every ordinal on ICP. The Bit Basel platform is a little bit more focused on the artist and a little bit curated towards kind of individual artists and individual projects versus maybe your typical PFP mints. So we're definitely a curated marketplace, and then also kind of like this perks and benefit engine that we're going to be showcasing to our collectors and allowing for artists to plug into. That's kind of our main use case that we're trying to have to allow for artists to, just another easier way to sell their art. Because I think the artists in this space are unfairly being pushed out in favor of these kind of more investable PFP projects. And I think we can create tools to kind of change the narrative on that.
I love it. And I just love the combination of the tech stacks for ICP and Bitcoin where and this is, I mean, this really gets to the crux of Chain Fusion is the ability to kind of pick and choose blockchains based on what they're optimized for. And so BitBasel is a great example of just saying, look, ICP is good at some things, but not at others. But then Bitcoin is actually really good at these other use cases. And we want to just combine them to create a great product for the users. So like give people kind of an understanding of like, so June 24th is the launch, but how can people kind of stay up to date? You know, there's 21 days between now and then. So a lot's going to happen in everyone's lives and they might forget. How can they like get that reminder of BitBasel's live now?
You got to follow us on X, also on Instagram, at BitBasel Art, all one word. And stay tuned. I mean, if some of you are signed up for, you know, if you follow us on Twitter, if you're signed up for our newsletter online, we're coming out with a free giveaway of tickets to the Mining Disrupt Conference starting tomorrow. So we're going to be giving out special tickets as giveaways, you know, across social media and email in anticipation for that June 24th event in Miami. So if you're in Miami or you want to come to Miami in the heat of summer, I promise it's not too bad. It's going to be an awesome event. There are opportunities to get free tickets to that conference through BitBasel. So that's really the campaign we're going on, showcasing these art pieces and this Moonrider art piece at Mining Disrupt. So just stay tuned. You'll see us on social media soon enough. And follow us at BitBasel Art. We'll definitely have a way for you to sign up into our platform when it's coming out. But that's the best way.
I love it. So yeah, so definitely, I got the X handle correct, right?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, so definitely give that a follow and keep up to date because, like Scott said, there's going to be some ways to contribute and get early rewards for being an early adopter. So, in terms of now, we have. Do you want me to pull up your webpage to the stage, or do you want to walk through?
Sure. Yes. So this is a special collection on the Lunar Prize mission. As you can see, even Billboard, you know, had it as a top story. This is focusing all on some of the audio files that were put onto the mission, and this is going to be, you know, one of the first collections that are launching between Space Blue and Bit Basel and another partner that we have called Tune FM. So we're going live with something this summer called the Summer of Love, and it's really bringing back all of these musicians and songs from the 1960s and 70s to today, and both minting them as ordinal and other NFT projects. So the collection includes Bob Marley and Elvis and The Who, Carlos Santana, you name it. It's a collection of 28 songs, and there's going to be Summer of Love Volume 1 and Volume 2. So this is something definitely at the Bitcoin conference, which it's big focus on music in Nashville this week, that we're going to be making a lot of noise about.
Awesome. A lot of fun. Yeah. So, I mean, and obviously Nashville with the music reference there. So awesome work. Really cool how you guys tie everything in with kind of like the cultural moment of the day. So
a lot of songs from 1968, 69, which was actually the last time the US went to the moon on the Apollo missions, and also a big time just for, you know, kind of a consciousness movement. The U.S. is going back to the moon now, the next few years with the Artemis program. So yeah, we think it's a great kind of rhyme of history, kind of bringing this back and into the new digital renaissance that we're creating, you know, all together with Web3.
I love how you just said that, because it really, at least, and I know we have an international viewership, like, you know, so you see there's 2,000 people already viewing this live stream live, and I can guarantee you they're spread throughout the world. But as Americans, there is this very like deep ingrained, like we're all born in like deeply interested in the space program from the 60s. For whatever reason, that was like a big thing in American history, and so there's a deep appreciation for like the work that went in and like the scientific significance that was the space program. And I love how you're kind of bringing it towards like, well, maybe we're at like a very similar spot in our nation's history, or maybe even the world's history, of a like technological revolution between like blockchain and AI, and maybe 2 or 3 generations from now, people will look back and be like, oh, the people who were involved in that were really lucky because they were like center stage for this really cool part of human history. And that could be us right now, right? I don't know, there's something there.
It definitely could be 100%. And it's not just US centric. I mean, there's a lot of different countries launching to the moon. The US went back for the first time 50 years this year, but India was actually the first country 6 months ago or 8 months ago to make it back to the moon. I know that other countries have gone up as well. I think some missions didn't make it, but India was actually the first country to make it, even before the US. They made it in 2023, and then we made it in 2024. But yeah, it's kind of looking up to the sky is it seems like a lot of the people around the world and a lot of governments are looking to expand out into the next frontier of space, whether it's the moon or everything else that's out there.
Yeah.
Excited. And crypto, those are uncharted territories. There's no specific, leaders or nations out there, and maybe a cryptocurrency or blockchain-based economy can even thrive out in that geography, if we can even call it geography. I don't think we can.
They're definitely crypto obviously is a great medium for removing the borders and
Yes.
that
No borders,
that
exactly.
mindset. So let me drop off this banner so it can get. There's a great question from Hinkalicious here. Will Bit Basel NFT holders from Bionic, I'm assuming referring to the Moonrider collection, or maybe not, but will they get benefits like applying for ticket raffles?
Not just the Bit Basel Moonrider, but we want to be able to open up, benefits for all collections on ICP and ordinals. So like if you were to log on to Bit Basel, we want to be able to have some stream rewards for you as well. We're working on that. Definitely the Moonrider. We're going to be having some utility as well. We did promise this is a low stakes, really more for like the digital art side of things. We didn't connect our perks marketplace to the Moonrider yet. But for sure, there's so much interoperability between Bionic and Bit Basel. So if you can pull your Moonrider onto our marketplace, you'll be able to get these different tickets and different perks and ecosystems from us, our friends at Modernists, and then our other partners as well.
I'm pulling up. So the mint on the Moonriders is 7,000 Satoshis. That's like $4. $5. Yeah.
$4 now, maybe. I think I saw it go back up today to 70,000, so maybe still around $5.
Let me see if I can pull this up really quickly. Window. Here we go. Share. There we go. So here's the mint, the Launchpad page. You can get. Let's see, my login. You can get mint up to 10. If you just go to Bionic, go to their Launchpad, and then you'll see here's the artwork. Really kind of a cool futuristic. You've got the astronaut reference with, or the moon reference with the astronaut suit here. So
yeah,
very, very cool.
The team at Modernist is some of the top art teams in the space. They did a great job. They have other Modernists on the mission, and then also we have a separate collection called the Moonrider, which is not just the Bit Basel Moonrider. That's going to be coming out as well. And then I also just shared like a sneak peek to our marketplace. We haven't showed this live to anyone. I'm not going to go through too much, but you can just kind of pull it up to kind of get a sense of what to expect when we push it live.
Here comes the alpha.
Exactly. So we'll call it a demo right now, but it has full functionality to connect to wallet and to be able to buy, sell, auction reserved ordinal pieces and then inscribe them back into ordinals. Team has a couple of little things to do before that June 24th, but what we learned in this space is get it out there, get it out to the community, and build with the community.
Awesome. Cool. I mean, I love the aesthetics of kind of sticking with that futuristic it also feels like a callback to like the early what did they call? I think they called them vector graphic games, or you know, where the graphics were very linear, a lot of lines in place. So
It's like a Miami, like I forget the term. I don't want to say hyperwave, but some like Miami Vice, you know, look as
yeah.
well. We always pay homage to our hometown.
I'm seeing a lot of love in the comments for them.
Here, thank you, Hank Collius. Thank you.
Oh yeah. He's Hank has given us some praise. All the praise goes to Scott. I just get to be on the forefront of the alpha. So Stan is asking about game developers. Any interest in expanding BitBasel to game skins?
Yeah, quite possibly. I mean, you know, like I said, we like to do a little bit more, you know, bring in an artist maybe that wants to collaborate with a gaming company on a skin. I think that's something, you know, with BitBasel for sure. You know, if we can bring in one of our artists to work on like a 3D, you know, model of a new game skin that's kind of pushed out by this specific artist or this specific brand, yeah, it's definitely something that we want to get into.
Cool. Well, we covered a lot here. Let me step back and say, was there anything we didn't cover that you wanted to cover?
There's one thing I want to cover. I mean, it's a little, you know, maybe premature in terms of no call to action, but there are future missions going from Luna Prize. So there are opportunities for artists, for brands, for communities to go to the moon. It won't be the first museum on the moon, but the second one isn't as bad, and just being able to explore space. So we have future missions, one right now that's scheduled for late November. The nature of these space missions, as we learned too, is that they get delayed in terms of NASA's timelines, but there are applications right now going out for artists to be part of this second launch, which we'll also be sharing, you know, on our socials and within the community. So it's exciting that like the new space economy, where, you know, a brand like BitBasel or an artist like, you know, the Modernist and all other 222 artists, or even a community like ICP can now get access to space. So future missions, this is just the beginning, and it's super exciting.
A great question that just came in on from Quasar, I'm going to pronounce it. How to apply as an artist in BitBasel?
When we launch on June 24th, we're going to have an application program. So stay tuned for that. In terms of the space mission too, you know, we're going to stay tuned to our Twitters. We're going to have applications for artists to apply there as well.
It does strike me from an artist perspective, like the idea of like legacy, right? The fact that if your art lives on the moon, like you're saying, it's going to live there for, I mean, I don't, however, whatever the, you know, half-life of nickel is, out a couple beyond that kind of a thing. Do you find a lot of artists are like that it's an appeal to the artist, or I don't know, what is the appeal to the artist of getting their art on the moon?
Yes, I think that's one thing. I think too, and something, I think just the allure of the moon, right? I mean, it's just a part of, globally, we all look to the moon as some romantic, orbit. So I think it's really that now that, and us too, right? Maybe even before this mission, I hadn't had such a fondness of the moon, but when we're looking up there, we can really, you know, say, hey, my art's up there, you know, my impression's up there. And it's going to be there for posterity, you know, like the half-life of nickel. But I think it's more of the allure and the, you know, especially in crypto, right? You know, even before thinking about the moon, when I think of moon, I think on Reddit in 2013, everyone going to the moon. And now now it's we're in 2024, and yeah, it's not just metaphorical, it's true. And then also just the fascination. I think a lot of our artists are now a lot more passionate about the space industry and the future of space and what that looks like from a human perspective, not just artists, but, you know, also a lot of the impact projects we did, you know, they have a lot of relation, and how space is going to help things here on Earth. That's a big narrative that we talk about as well. So yeah, I think there's a lot of different angles.
Is the museum on the light side of the moon or the dark side of the moon?
It's on the dark side, correct? It's on the light. I thought it was on the south side. It's on the light side. And if you guys remember, if anyone remembers the south side, the light side of the moon. So it's on the moon. If people don't know, I learned this a few years ago after this mission, is that we only see the same part of the moon, you know, throughout our lifetime. There's the dark side and the light side. And if you guys remember, if you remember this mission a few months ago, you might have seen on TV, it actually tipped over as it landed. That was the funny thing about when the U.S. went to the moon. But we got confirmations not just from satellites, but our museum is shining up to the sky.
Okay.
But yeah, it's on the light side of the moon, on the south side, in a place called Shackleton. Shackleton, I think, is the area of the moon.
Okay. I can't imagine how surreal of an experience that must be for an artist to be able to look at a full moon and just be like, there is my art. There's just, I don't know, that just feels very, very surreal. So
I think a lot of artists said that, like, totally, changed their perspective, some of their careers as well. I think a lot of their careers, a lot of them are global artists. We've had so many artists from Latin America too, just because of being in Miami, and they've really gone forward with this story as the first Argentinian on the moon, the first Mexicans on the moon, and it's really just brought them a lot of good publicity. And I think it's been a really special project for a lot of people.
That's so cool. I mean, like a great example is I have inscribed my wedding anniversary into Bitcoin, just from that perspective of legacy. Like there's something very refreshing to know that, hey, my anniversary will always live. My wedding date will live on the Bitcoin blockchain forever. And to have art that now is in a very physical sense, not even just digital, physical sense that will always live forever. Like if you had a meaning behind that art, that meaning now actually resides on the moon and will just live there forever. I don't know. My brain is kind of
that's great to say, because I mean it's an art museum, but there's a lot of, like I said, scientific data on this disk, where there's actually the Bitcoin white papers on this disk. We put on there the Bitcoin source code, so any file type you can put onto this disk, even a PDF. So yes, I think that's going to be opened up as well. Just maybe people don't feel like they have art, but maybe they want to include something significant like an anniversary that's awesome that's on the blockchain, or someone's pictures of their family. I'll tell you a secret that I was able to sneak in a picture of my family, which is awesome. It was a good Christmas present for them last year, and that's just it's so great to be able to have that. So yeah, it's great that we have this accessibility. Everyone has this accessibility to now be part of that.
Yeah, I see. So Stan with a lot of great questions today. He's asking, have you guys gotten this in the Guinness book yet?
I don't think so. Just because, even, just the fact that it launched is one thing, and then making it to the moon is another thing. Like, there was a mission actually a few months before it made its way to the moon and exploded halfway there. So it had to land first, but yes, now there's a huge kind of push to, get all these records and get it showcased at different museums and tell the whole Bitcoin and Web3 world about it, and then also the whole art world about it as well. But there was a good chance that it wasn't going to make it.
Yeah,
we never know, but we trust in Elon, I guess.
Yeah, so I mean, just huge congrats to everyone involved. It's such a cool milestone for humanity. I appreciate just being part of it from the perspective of getting to host you here on the show and getting to mint some of the art in the Moonrider collection. So,
well, thanks, Kyle. Well, we love that the Internet Computer, it provide a platform for accessibility of not just these art pieces, but for all Bitcoin art pieces. I think that are coming on the ordinals. The ICP provides a way to enable Web3 functionality with them, because the Bitcoin blockchain still has limitations. So we can't do token gating. We can't do auctions on chain Bitcoin, at least the auctions that we're used to with reserves and like a Dutch auction. So these platforms need to be fused together, because Bitcoin can't do everything, Ethereum can't do everything, Solana can't. So it's about using these layers, and ICP kind of being like that intermediary of all these layers. It's just the way that blockchain's coming forward. So yes, the third generation blockchain. I'm relatively new to the ICP ecosystem, but the more I go down the rabbit hole, the more blown away I am by the tech's capabilities.
Yeah, that's a pretty common feedback we get. I think you just summed up Chain Fusion very well. So that was a great. I might clip that out for future commercials, because that was a good way to explain why the why behind Chain Fusion. So Scott, give us again the call to actions. I put up the X handle again, but just walk everyone. I hope people are feeling a sense of awe in everything we just talked about. And if they are feeling awe, where should they go to to get more awe?
Bit Basel art, bionic.com, mint the moon rider, and then follow us on Bit Basel art. We're coming out with a campaign tomorrow about free tickets to Mining Disrupt. Even if you can't attend, try to sign up, and we're going to be, get on our list. And once you're on our list, we're going to be giving a slew of emails about our upcoming marketplace drops and future moon missions. So follow us, and then, try to sign up for one of our events, whether they're in person or online. So you're just part of the email campaigns that we'll do in the future.
Awesome. I love it. Scott, I really appreciate your time here today. Everyone, give a follow, and then good luck at the space launch later on this week. And definitely hit us up in Nashville. If you're in the ICP community, you're going to see us all over Nashville. You're going to see Bit Basel all over Nashville. Definitely come out, say hi, and let's party it up in Nashville.
Yep. To the moon. Thanks, Kyle.
All right. Thanks, Scott.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone. There's another Chain Fusion Live, and I will see you next Monday. Bye.
Okay. Breakfast.